Overtime, your one-stop shop for all things Rocket League and RLCS. I'm your host, Wavepunk. I got a Finable Carpet, I got a Gibbs, I got a Lawler. How you guys all doing today?
Good.
Doing great. It was a great Brisk summer series, a 7-Eleven summer series.
7-Eleven summer series presented by Brisk.
My apologies.
EU edition.
EU edition, yes, the European.
So the better region.
So the full title, the European 7-Eleven summer series presented by Brisk, hashtag EUSSSPB.
Or hashtag take the risk.
Yeah.
Or hashtag take the risk. That one makes it a little bit better.
I'm wearing my Brisk-inspired shirt. These are tiny little sunglasses on this shirt.
Is an homage to Gibbs's bit.
Yeah.
His bit about the sunglasses.
He's the most prop guy. So many props.
This was, yeah.
But I have no other talent, so I have to bring props.
The best part is a lot of times he won't really tell us. He'll tell like one of us, and then like the rest of us are like, oh, Gibbs, not again. Like our reactions to Gibbs's like propping is real. Because we're usually not prepped for it.
Usually. Yeah. I mean, there they are. They at least picked great sunglasses.
They matched the set.
Yeah.
I think
those
my
are
wife
pretty nice
bought
shades.
this for me,
I'm not going to lie. Those are pretty sick shades.
They're pretty good. They're pretty great shades. We can take a look at the bracket, see how everything panned out this past weekend. It was a great weekend of Rocket League. Some fantastic teams from Europe showed up and competed. We Dem Mois, a team that everyone was kind of talking about, took Envious to Game 5 in the qualifiers. You can see Leftovers took on Mocket eSports. Gale Forest taking down Method easily 3-0, and Flipside and Team Envious also only went 3 games. 2 sweeps there in the bottom of the quarterfinals.
There's a lot of blowouts throughout this entire bracket. We only had one go the whole way, and no one expected it to be the Envious versus We Dem Mois. It looked more like Envious was playing down a bit to We Dem Mois, but We Dem Mois was playing great defense and just barely didn't make it with 1 minute left. They finally got scored on to lose.
Yeah, it was interesting too. I mean, you saw at the bottom bracket there was a lot of sweeps, and it just felt like some of these teams on the upper bracket took a little bit to wake up and play, but the games later in the day just went super smooth for the teams that won at least.
You said Envious was maybe playing down, maybe they're feeling the opening jitters of a tournament, but We Dem Mois was a team that we were like, we don't know anything. This is a bunch of like names, but they're not a team. They take it to Game 5. Were you guys impressed by We Dem Mois at least? Like even if it was Envious playing down, it was still a good showing from Jazer and company.
I was surprised by their defense. They showed up pretty well there. I wasn't too happy with the amount of pressure that they were able to provide. They weren't really doing much on the offensive side. It was more some mistakes by Devo on defense that got them the goals. So I want to see them try to get that offensive spark going.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. Apparently, like rumor going around that Krozek's supposed to be one of those players that no one really knows about, and he's supposed to be insane. I'm not saying that he's not, but I know he's got a lot of time to prove himself and show it. Generally, players that come in with a lot of kind of like secret momentum behind them take a few weeks into league play to really start showing themselves. Well, first, they got to qualify for league play, but I'm curious to see where the team goes, because I think they've got good groundwork, but they're going to have to build from there.
Yeah, no, the most competitive of the quarterfinals, I believe, was the Mocket versus Leftovers. The two teams that we were kind of expecting, like this one to be the closest. It still was 3-1 in favor of the Leftovers. They faced off against Envious in the semifinals, and that one was quite a slobber knocker as Envious. Any early game jitters they had were gone as they completely wiped the floor with the Leftovers.
Yeah, like I mentioned, a couple of these teams took a little bit to wake up, and then Envious came out in true fashion. The craziest thing about this series too wasn't the way that Envious plays. Like, we know they're a very fast team. They play really, really quick. But this was like a slow and methodical win. Even though they put a ton of shots on net, it didn't feel like anything was really forced.
Plus, they went up 3-0. Then the Leftovers won a game, and everyone's like, maybe a bracket reset, or not bracket reset. I'm sorry.
The Leftovers do the reverse sweep.
But the reverse sweep, but it didn't look that way. Like, even though they won that game, they barely got that victory, and it was all just Team Envious the entire time, just dominating the field. And honestly, I saw that a little bit with the Leftovers Mocket. Both teams kind of struggled, and it seems like league play for Europe is a little bit wide open right now.
Yeah, and I was excited to see Maestro back on the pitch. We hadn't seen him. He wasn't at LAN. We hadn't seen him since their regional finals. He played all the way up until their third-place game, and then he had Turbo Pulse to take a step in to warm up. That didn't go very well, but then clearly it went well from there. So I was pretty excited to see Maestro play, and clearly he fit well with his team. In the beginning, he was really carrying them, getting a lot of good strikes on a net and really securing a lot of their goals.
Yeah, the only one-goal game was that game 4 that Leftovers won. Otherwise, it was clean 2-goal, 3-goal victories here for Envious.
But I'm so happy to see Maestro coming back. He was a great player for them throughout league play. They were the #1 European team, and then just unfortunately, he had school to attend to, so he couldn't make the live final, and they still could have easily been world champions with him. And keep in mind, there was actually a series that we've never seen before where only one player scored, plus they won the entire series. And that was Maestro when they played Gale Force back in league play, which is a really solid team. So he is a big component to that squad. So I'm really happy to see him get back into it.
Yeah, they were looking at what you're saying.
Can't lose the Remco Maestro duo.
No.
They're a staple. They are like our foundation of like one of the duos. Remco Maestro. If they ever break up, I think there's going to be a small funeral, like a recession for them.
Rocket League civil war.
Yeah.
Going up on other teams. Hating each
Imagine
other.
what teams are going to fight for who gets who. Like,
Yeah.
it's a weird breakup if it does happen.
I mean, you can already look at that with Flipside having dropped Greasy. Now that makes super hot free agent out there. All sorts of different teams looking at him. And speaking of Flipside, taking on Gale Force, this was a rematch of the DreamHack Sweden finals, which instead of being a back and forth, this was a sweep of Flipside by Gale Force.
Yeah, they didn't look good, but Wavepunk's transitions are solid. Super solid. You see that with the Greasy to Flipside? Beautiful there, but Mystic coming
That's
in.
supposed to point it out, man.
Oh, no, but you have to when it's that beautiful.
That is not smooth.
Mystic looked really good in the first series. Didn't look that hot here because it was all Gale Force.
Well, he came out really strong in their first game. You know, he had that first goal right away. And we were all curious, like, was DreamHack a fluke? Was it the situation where, okay, they come in this honeymoon phase and they play really well and they end up winning? Is that going to carry over through here? And it didn't slow down. Like, Mystic seems to be a good solution for them. And we saw it announced on Monday that he is their official starting spot.
Now, Gibbs, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the series where you said Flipside didn't stand a chance?
No chance.
What made you think, like, what was the difference between Gale Force and Flipside going into this game that made you think, you know what, there's literally no way that our reigning champions have a chance?
Like, the last time they played was DreamHack, and that was the first time Gale Force as a team played together, and it was a live event, so you expect Flipside to have a little bit more composure there. But then these past weeks, it's been weekly tournaments for Gale Force, and Flipside really hasn't participated in any of them. So I just figured Gale Force, they've been getting better and better every single week in those weekly tournaments, so I just figured they were the best team going forward. And honestly, I don't think we've seen their true potential yet. Like, I think they can get even better.
Yeah, for sure. Gale Force, 7 games straight at this point in the tournament. As they move into the finals to face off against Envious, they drop 1 game in those finals. They drop 1 game this entire summer series, and then they take the win here for Europe. Gale Force eSports, quite the force to be reckoned with at the moment.
Yeah, I hate it when Gibbs is right about things, and he was like really right about Gale Force. You know, we saw them play really well at DreamHack, but as things went on, they keep getting better, and it's simply because, like you said, they are putting in the work, and it's showing up. Like, this looks like a team that's been playing together for a very long time, and it's only been a couple weeks.
But we see Violent Panda, he's been getting highlights all throughout the last series, all the passing. Now he's getting the goals in, and I love his name because in my notes I always put VIP for those notes for Violent Panda, and he showed it throughout this entire tournament. He's been one of my favorite players to watch even last season with Gale Force and the season before with Mocket. He's been performing really well, and this is the first time he's had 2 true, like, amazing teammates, I feel like, around him, and now it's really starting to show what he can bring to the table.
What I thought was really cool, and you mentioned it in the broadcast, Gibbs, there were a lot of passes from Violent Panda to K-Dop. They were working as a great pair with Turbo Pulsa there in pursuit. He was always kind of that great third, which, as we saw at LAN in Season 3, he did the same thing with Remco and Devo, was able to pull off that great third position spot. And I find it really interesting to see these players that are on a new roster still kind of going with that, a duo that works well with a third that fills in the gaps. And it clearly seems to be the way Rocket League is I guess, being played right now.
Well, what's really interesting is, so K-Dop, obviously the EU MVP from last season, and he did that simply by being both on offense and defense for Mocket. And what's crazy is Turbo is also a very offensive heavy player, and they're able to interchange those without a problem. Like, either one can fill in the role, like, who's going to lead the aggression? Flip a coin, take it, no one cares.
Sure.
Either way, Violent Panda is going to help set them up. So the way that they're interchanging that and giving themselves options with just someone like Violent Panda that can enable them to do their best, it makes for a really scary team.
Yeah, with Rocket League, there's the roles we like to talk about with the 1, the 2, and the 3, but the rotation means that you're constantly having to play every single role, and which sort of times you choose to pick or to move out and to go onto offense is when you're at the specific place in the rotation where your strongest one is there. But right now, the people that are the MVPs are the people that can play all 3 positions consistently and that know how to rotate and play as a team.
Yeah, like, I would agree to that to an extent. Like, I think Violent Panda, he does have a specific role as the setup man. He's more of the one where he'll go up first and set up the plays. He can get solo goals. It's not probably as often as like a Turbo Pulsa.
Yeah.
So he's probably the only one I think is kind of more destined to the one role. While we see K-Dop and Turbo, they kind of can do everything. But we'll see as Violent Panda grows into this team, he could probably also do all 3.
Before we go to break, any teams that here in the Summer Series you guys were surprised by? And you were like, and you were surprised by their performance. You know, We Dem Moise was here. Infused played against Flipside. They got swept, but I personally thought Infused had quite a decent showing. They were an exciting team to watch, even if they weren't taking the wins. You called them the lovable losers.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. I think the team Infused, granted they got swept, I think the series score doesn't particularly tell the story for that series. We say that a lot, but I truly agree with that. I think obviously they have a lot of room to grow, but some of the passing plays we saw in that game from both teams were phenomenal. And I'd mentioned it during the cast. I think if they were against any other team for the first round, there's a really good chance that they would have been able to make it out of round one. I think they had a really tough matchup early on, and it went up against a team that could kind of deal with everything. But they were putting up some passing plays that I was getting caught off guard by. Even though I had a whole view of the pitch, I was still caught off guard by some of the interceptions they were getting, a lot of misdirected plays. And for a team that's supposed to be kind of newer, and the guy that keeps crushing our hearts over and over again, Doomsy, please win something. I want it. We all want it. Literally, all your opponents want it. Everybody wants you to win it.
I feel like it'll be like Rocket League will just like end to some degree when Doomsy wins a tournament.
That's it.
It'll be like the internet's over.
Yeah.
You know?
I will quit.
It's been a great time.
Once Doomsy wins the World Championship,
Rocket League's been fun, guys. Rocket League's been fun, but
Doomsy
Rocket League's
won, so
over
we're done now.
So you all have fun.
Yeah.
But guys, it's been great. Brisk, we'll have one more before the summer's out, so be tuned in to here and be tuned into other stuff, social media, if you want to get more details on that. But when we come back, going to take a quick break. Carpet's going to break down some plays for us. I'm excited to see what he's got in store. We like to talk about the strategies and everything. It should be a lot of good. It'll be a lot of fun, a lot of everything. Right after the break, don't go anywhere.